Hi, everybody. It's me, Mr. Bezad, and this is Mr. B's Very Basic United States Government and Politics in 2 minutes or less. So, our government in Washington is broken up into three parts. One, the legislature, that's Congress. It's a bicameral system. That means there's two houses. Those houses are the Senate and House of Representatives. Those two bodies have to agree on everything. Under most circumstances, the Constitution dictates certain powers in certain areas, but ultimately, when they're making laws, they have to agree. Then you've got the executive branch, which enforces the laws. That's the president, and there's only one of them. And then you've got the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. They interpret the laws. They determine whether or not a law is constitutional, whether or not it can even exist. So when they strike something down as unconstitutional, it's not like they're saying, no, you didn't break the law. They're saying the law couldn't have existed in the first place. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. Now, this is the federal system. This is the national government. We are a federal system, not a unitary system, which means that's just part of it. We're also broken up into 50 little pieces. We call them states, and each state has an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch. And like I said, we have 50 of those. The first one we talked about in slide number 1, that is the federal government, also known as the national government. But it's important to note that we are not a system that's dictated. They don't make all the laws for everybody, and they're not in charge. Our day-to-day stuff is actually supposed to come from these guys, the state governments. The state governments are actually broken down a little bit more. You can get into municipalities and whatnot. And if you really want to have influence on your day-to-day life, then that's kind of where you want to work politically. But everybody seems to think that the national and federal system, that's where all the power is. And there's a lot there. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. To add to that, we've got political parties, we've got the media, which is where we get information, lobbyists, which put money in and try to influence legislators and people that are actually in power, political action committees, our own public opinion, and that's just a couple of things that influence government. So ultimately, that's American government and politics in 2 minutes or less.